Okay, I am live. Now, if you're watching this posted video, I apologize, you did miss the live stream, but to make sure you don't miss the live stream, make sure to please like the video, please turn on your notifications, please subscribe or comment, it helps out a lot, and man, do we have a lot to cover today. We've been doing this daily coverage on Minneapolis every single morning, tracking developments, and I think it's very crucial we pay attention to Minneapolis because this is really setting the foundation for what's to come, possibly for other sanctuary cities around the United States. And thank you to everyone joining in the live stream. Make sure to please like the live stream, leave your comments, and yeah. Okay, so we have a lot of different things going on right now, but if there was one particular talking point I really had to nail down as far as what we're going to talk about, the amount of people who are being arrested and are going to be arrested according to federal agents, the FBI, Homeland Security. I mean, a lot of people are being arrested. We actually have a total amount that have been arrested so far, and we're also being told again by Nick Sorter on Fox News, he says many more people are going to be arrested. In fact, even in the interview, he's like, I can't go too far into it. Gang members have been arrested. Protest group members have been arrested. A lot's going on with that. We also have the Insurrection Act sort of looming over this situation. Is there going to be an Insurrection Act by the Trump administration? I have no idea. What I do know, though, is that Tom Homan will be talking to President Trump right now as I make this live stream. They are having their meeting either now or definitely today as far as whether or not it's worth it, maybe just send in more federal agents or push for the Insurrection Act. As many of you are aware, when you push for the Insurrection Act, there's probably going to be a legal battle. So the Trump administration, I think, really wants to make sure everything is put in place, everything is good to go for this to happen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go take a look at what happened in Oregon. The Trump administration wanted to send the National Guard, and that turned into a whole legal headache. Thank you, Fed Up With It, for becoming a member. And thank you, all of you guys. Make sure to please like this so the other T-SPLY subscribers can see what's going on. Another big story to me, not as breaking news, but this happened just yesterday. Governor Tim Walz is really pleading with the president to tone it down. Let's turn the temperature down, stop this campaign of retribution. This is not who we are. And so the governor, I think, has no idea what's going on either, to be fair. He's waiting too. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But what I do know is it's a Friday, and for anybody who knows anything about protesting or sanctuary cities, Fridays leading up into the weekend, unfortunately, things can turn a little aggressive is the best way I can say it. That happened a lot in Portland and in Chicago. And, I mean, you have more free time, right? So let's go ahead and talk about this. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to cover everything. If you go onto the Homeland Security X page, I mean, all it is all the different people they have arrested, from criminal illegal aliens to protesters, but this is a recent interview from Trisha McLaughlin.
Who are these rioters and violent agitators protecting? It's these people you're seeing on the screen. And just in the last 5 weeks alone, we've arrested 2,500 criminal illegal aliens off of the street. That includes child rapists, strong-arm rapists, murderers, an individual who was a perpetuator of human slavery, an individual who killed his own 3-month-old child. That is who our law enforcement is risking their lives to get off of America's streets. President Trump and Secretary Noem sent law enforcement, surge operations to Minneapolis because they were seeing that Mayor Frey and Governor Walz refused to do their job and refused to protect the people that they were elected to serve.
Okay, now, obviously, this is what Homeland Security has been saying from day one. You should be working with us because this is who we are arresting. Now, here is the context that's way different beyond any other federal operation. When it comes to this particular mission in Minneapolis and St. Paul and the greater area, there's a lot more emphasis on agitators or pushback from protesters, almost the same equal weight with illegal immigrants. When we look at what was happening in Portland, there was almost just emphasis on this idea of the clashing and the protesters almost nobody was talking about the actual mission going on, which was the deportation operations. And it turns out that actually worked in favor for the Trump administration because Oregon had 10 times more deportations in 2025 than 2024. So the mission went well, but the point I'm trying to make is in this particular operation, we're hearing a lot more about agitators or pushback in these groups. Never like we've seen before in the mainstream. So keep that in mind. That means we're probably going to be seeing a lot more people arrested. In fact, I even want to show you guys, Kash Patel put out a $100,000 cash reward if you can help out the FBI with information as far as, I think you guys all saw the clip where there was that van and people stole the firearm and stole the documents, were broadcasting it on the internet. $100,000 reward. That is more money than the guy. Do you guys remember in California when there was that really big deportation operation on that cannabis farm? And we saw the scenes of like people throwing stones through the windows of vehicles. That was only a $50,000 reward. This is a $100,000 reward. So they're paying big bucks. But the point is, again, even Kash Patel, they're really indicating, look, people are going to get arrested. More and more people will be arrested if you're going to keep, not necessarily protest, but cross that line. Speaking of last night, this is Allie Bradley. If you guys want to go give her a follow, she is a senior immigration correspondent for News Nation. Posted this. At least 11 government vehicles or rentals driven by federal law enforcement vandalized at a hotel in Eagan, Minnesota overnight. Yeah, it's getting real, people. It is getting real. Here's Kristi Noem.
It's better than it was a week ago, but he's got a long ways to go. He needs to start working with our law enforcement officers. We could go get these criminals off the streets with their partnership and do it in a safe manner with less agents if he told everybody to go home and said it was no longer acceptable. The violent rioters that we're seeing on the streets today are there because of the mayor and how he's spoken. He needs to make sure that he's working with us, with his law enforcement officers, to make sure we're arresting the dangerous ones and sending the rest of them home.
So again, there's like this really big push in campaign of like, just work with us, please work with us. The way that I'm looking at it, it looks as if the Trump administration is just trying to find one sanctuary mayor or sanctuary city status that will maybe flip and possibly work with the Trump administration. But I'm going to be honest with you, I am not seeing any indicators as far as that happening. This could also be the Trump administration knowing that literally everyone is paying attention to Minneapolis. And when I say literally everyone, I mean obviously a lot more people are paying attention. And with that, people are now starting to get educated as far as what sanctuary cities are all about. And like we just saw from Trisha McLaughlin, we're finding all these really bad criminals. Why is the mayor not working with him? You know what I mean? So a lot of it has to do with this narrative battle as well. Now, here is Nick Sorter. He was breaking some news on Fox News talking about the Latin Kings gang member who was arrested for allegedly stealing stuff out of the FBI vehicle.
Around in Minneapolis. Nick, I want to start with you. The man who had arrested last night breaking into that vehicle, Tom Homan just said he was arrested. I know you just talked to a high-placed source at DOJ. Tell us more.
Yeah, so he wasn't arrested last night. He could have been, but the Minneapolis police didn't bother chasing the vehicle that had just stolen a high-powered rifle out of an FBI car. So that stole it out of one of these weapons lockers that was in the back. But what I can confirm now is that Raul Gutierrez, age 33, that you see in the video that I posted last night, stealing a firearm from an FBI vehicle, has been arrested by the ATF and the DOJ. They executed an arrest warrant today, and he's a known member of the Latin Kings gang. I just got all this information just before I came on air. He's got a lengthy, violent rap sheet. Of course, he should have been in prison already, but in Tim Waltz, Minnesota, like they don't arrest anybody here. So it's not surprising.
So one thing I will say is you may notice there's not a lot of conservative representation as far as independent journalist on the ground. We'll talk about that a little later. I really try to be as fair as possible in these videos, give the conservative perspective, give the left-leaning perspective. But as far as this story, what's being reported to me and other sources, it's actually, they feel a lot more in danger, or they don't feel as safe being on the ground in Minneapolis. In fact, some reporters were saying, I felt more safe in Portland than I did over here. So keep in mind, it's actually very difficult to find a conservative perspective. A lot of times you have to sort of just go to the mainstream instead of just hearing from it on the ground.
Surprising that he was able to go out and beat this gun safe to a pulp and pull this automatic firearm out of it and run away with it. And, you know, hell, if it wasn't for, honestly, a lot of us independent journalists on the ground that were able to get a video of this, nobody would have seen it happen.
Wouldn't know about it.
They were able to find this guy based on a video from independent journalists, the one that we posted last night. I mean, it's crazy that it has to be us doing this.
So, Nick, did you talk to DOJ to get his name?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's I've been in contact with Attorney General Pam Bondi throughout the day today. We've talked to him several times.
We'll take that
I
as
have
a
a lot more
confirmation.
material that I haven't posted. Yeah. And so they've been, there's a lot of FBI stuff going on the ground right now that I can't talk about. But
Okay, so if anybody knows how this works, again, I don't want to speak for Nick Sorter, but I do think the fact that Nick Sorter sort of showed his hand a little bit, there's a lot more stuff I can't talk about, and I've been talking to Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. Again, in my personal opinion, I do think more people are going to be arrested for sure, possibly involved with this situation or another situation linked to this. I'm a little surprised. I could tell Nick Sorter didn't necessarily feel comfortable possibly saying that on national television, but maybe he did. So yeah, that's out there. But again, this has been building up as far as who are these protesters, what is happening here. And I know a lot of people get upset when we say protester. There are some legal implications. If you see somebody on TV and you broadcast it and you call them like an attacker, you have to understand that's why, generally speaking, the media just refers to everybody as a protester. That is more defensible. That is just a general category. But when you cross that line, obviously you get into different terminology. So I just want to make that clear. If you're hearing everybody call everybody a protester, that's one of the biggest reasons why. It's just easier to categorize people as that. Here's Tom Homan.
And just before I got in front of the camera, my security team advised me that the person that stole that farm last night is now wearing a set of handcuffs in custody. So I was just advised of that before I got in the camera. So, and there's others. Others are coming. So they're going to be helping.
Again, you heard that. Others are coming. All right, so you keep hearing these indicators. More and more is going to happen. You did not hear this with Portland. You did not hear this with Operation Midway Blitz. We saw the scenes. We saw the tear gas and pepper balls. This particular operation, we are hearing it over and over again. People will be arrested if you cross that line. And obviously, one of the reasons why we're probably seeing it a lot more here is because everyone's paying attention. Everyone's like, what is happening? Who are these people? And that's why you're probably hearing it from the Trump administration themselves. They're going to start to get arrested if you cross the line.
Accountable. But you're right. Look, Mayor Fry and the governor could end this right now. They could say, ICE, we want to work with you. ICE, we want to let you into our jails, and we're going to, respect your detainers. Any illegal alien that we book into a jail, when we're done with them, we're going to call you. So you can arrest them in the safety and security of a jail rather than us releasing them to the street. Then you got to send a whole team to look for them. They could fix this situation right now, because as of right now, what are these, these anarchists, what do they have achieved so far? What have they achieved? Has ICE decreased their operations? No, we doubled down. We're arresting people every day and we'll keep doing it. They haven't achieved anything other than violence.
Tom Homan always tells these cities exactly what you need to do if you don't want us there. And I know this sounds maybe counterproductive to the idea, but Tom Homan, I used to cover this way before it was popular. I was covering ICE operations before the summer, like a long time ago. Tom Homan has always said this on day one. If you work with us, we're actually not going to flood your streets with federal agents. In fact, we will even cater to you and figure out how we're going to work with you. And it's true. You are seeing it in real time. If you work with ICE, you don't hear about this massive federal presence. If you don't work with ICE, what you're seeing is what you get. And if there's one person who appears on all of these interviews and national television Tom Homan is the one person who always says it's literally better for you to work with us because you're not about to have thousands of agents in your streets. Now, to some people, they want thousands of agents, but all right, let's go to CNN. We're going to get a different talking perspective here.
The mayor, Jacob Frey, calling for these protests to remain peaceful, saying that protesters who are antagonizing those ICE agents are just giving in to the bait. Those were his words. But then again, the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, saying that he doesn't want people to leave the streets of Minnesota.
Okay, so this video is going viral because this is CNN sort of talking about a little bit of a contradictory statement. I hope you guys caught that. And I think you guys have been hearing that, and that is what the Trump administration keeps saying. In one sense, you say, we want you to protest, but then in another sense, it's, we want you to protect your neighbors, we don't want you to leave, we want you to be in the streets. And so, again, this video is circulating because it's a little surprising you're hearing this even straight from CNN.
Continue documenting this, so there's definitely a mix of emotions here as well. People who seem very organized, some people who are a little bit louder, getting a little bit louder as those agents come in and out. Now, we weren't here when this happened, but as we were making our way to this federal building, we heard that there was a little bit of an altercation. Now, what happened, as a couple of eyewitnesses described to us, is that federal agents came out of the building and threw some kind of projectiles.
Yeah, and we will be going over some of this raw footage. I see some of your comments saying last night was pretty intense. Do you guys want a little quick snippet of last night? Since you guys are awesome and you're all here, make sure to please like this live stream. It helps out a ton. Let me get a good one for you. We have some Cam Higbee stuff. Here's Cam Higbee. Make sure you guys go support Cam Higbee. He goes live during all of this. Here's a quick snippet of what's to come here soon in the show.
He's inciting.
Move up! Move up! Move up! Move up! Move up!
They're going to the other gate too. Really? I don't know if you can. Oh, these guys are going to the other side as well to flank them.
All right, we will get to that a bit later, just so you guys know there was some action last night. And thank you for the $20 donation from Let's Roll 47. God bless America. Keep up the great work, Marcus. I appreciate you. And God bless all of you guys. And please pray for peace, like I always request. Let's continue. Here's Scott Jennings once again, CNN.
Isn't the point of using very careful policing tactics and making sure that the use of force is documented and justified, doesn't it protect agents in the situation that you're describing, right? Where an agent does find himself in a situation and he does something, he uses force in a justified way. Doesn't an environment that encourages the community to support that agent, big picture,
I agree
help?
with you. If the community were being encouraged to support the agents, that would be good. They're being encouraged to confront the agents, to blow whistles in their faces, to agitate them. These police officers are being expected to exhibit superhuman patience that I would suspect none of us would be able to do
the federal
if
government
we were being confronted this way. And again, I just go back to the story in question. 3 illegal aliens beating a man with a shovel. What is he supposed to do?
But the federal government also isn't the point.
Okay, so right now we're sort of seeing this talking point shift, and this also has to do with what some Democrats want as far as changes in policy. Some Democrats are requesting, if we're going to be funding Homeland Security, they want more training, of course, citing what happened in Minneapolis. On the flip side, Scott Jennings, and also there have been interviews with the Federal Protective Services over in Portland. They said one of the hardest things they have to do is make that judgment call. Nobody wants to impede on protesting. As a federal agent, you have to allow protest. Chief Bovino recently did an interview as well. We want you guys to protest. You're allowed to. But when you cross that line, that's when everyone pays attention with like a microscope. Did he cross that line and impede on the protesting? And that's what Scott Jennings is pointing out. And I think it was Katie Davis Court did documentary on the Federal Protective Services in Portland, where they straight up said that is the hardest part of the job, not the clashing, not the none of that, the actual making the judgment call.
We apparently have a new photo of the suspect from last night, Paul. We're all seeing this for the first time together. A smiling photo of the suspect. This is Julio Cesar Sosa Celis, who is smiling inside of an ambulance, we are told last night, after being shot in the leg. This is being confirmed through us through multiple DHS and ICE sources that this is indeed the suspect. There are going to be more photos, but this is the first of several that we are told exist. Paul, I'll get your reaction to that.
Yeah, so obviously this photo is circulating if you haven't seen it. It's being reported this was one of the people who was shot by ICE. Homeland Security saying they were defending themselves from a shovel attack. Let's see what else we got for you guys. We have a bunch of clips. Here we go.
That's what we're seeing.
So a recent Quinnipiac University poll found that a narrow majority of voters, 52%, believe that last week's fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good involving an ICE officer in Minneapolis was not justified. John, how does DHS respond to Americans seemingly having declining trust in ICE and DHS?
I really want to see a poll as far as declining trust with ICE. Are you guys hearing it? Are you guys seeing it? Do you think there is a decline in trust with ICE? The reason why ICE gets into this gray area of its own separate category is because Americans like security, but also when it comes to the deportation, some people question the tactics, but it's still in line with that security. I've even seen some commentary saying the new defund the police is defund ICE, is what I have been seeing in some separate reports.
Stop rushing to judgment. Stop telling us every time that this is only about the worst of the worst when it's not. And to be fair, Jake, I think there are some administration officials who say we are out there to get illegal immigrants off the street. But let's be honest. That's what we're trying to do here. A mass deportation, not against the worst of the worst, but against the general undocumented population. And then three is, when there's an incident like this, let the investigation play out, right? Don't just make a rush to judgment. You do those things, and then, Jake, I'll just throw in quickly, de-escalate a little bit. Stop being so... Stop doing operational tactics that are, it seemed to me, designed less about law enforcement and more about political messaging. And I think we'll start the healing process, so to speak, the rebuilding that ICE reputation.
Ken, your response?
Yeah, John.
Okay, so again, we try to give all the different talking points here. Even if you don't agree with it, we got to be as fair as possible. I know a lot of you want to know what Senator Mark Kelly has to say. Senator Mark Kelly involved with a legal battle as far as the Department of War, Pete Hegseth. Here's what he had to say recently about this event. And the only reason why I'm showing you this is because I'm a little surprised he's not focusing on that side of the legal challenges and everything going on with him possibly losing some military benefits.
Hey, folks, so the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights just made a decision not to investigate the shooting and death of Renee Good in Minneapolis. And because of that, 4 Department of Justice officials resigned because of her refusal to do an investigation. On top of that, the FBI is refusing to share any information on the investigation with the state of Minnesota. Folks, this is a no-brainer. This stuff should be pretty easy and pretty straightforward. When somebody dies at the hands of law enforcement like this, it should be investigated. And the FBI should share information with the state.
And again, I have to point out, there is missing context here, and this is really what I wanted to show you. If you know nothing about sanctuary policies and you're watching this, and to everyone on paper, this sounds right. Why wouldn't you want more hands on deck? Why wouldn't you want everybody to investigate? But the problem is not that. The problem is the sanctuary policies itself possibly breaking its own policies. And so when the initial policy is, we don't work with ICE when it comes to deportations, then you have this shooting, ICE was in the middle of a deportation, now they want to get involved. That's actually what the core issue is. Now, legally and technically speaking, Minneapolis, they can break their own sanctuary policies if they want to. Typically in these policies, you do have extreme situations in which would constitute cooperation, but a lot of times we see pushback from the people on the ground who don't necessarily want cooperation. So that's what it comes down to. I think a lot of people are just now finding out how gray sanctuary cities get and how confusing they can get. Okay, so I found this rather interesting. This was from Homeland Security, and then they reposted Jessica Tarlov on Fox. ICE candidates are subject to months of rigorous training. Again, a massive talking point we are hearing right now is that ICE agents don't have a lot of training. The lack of training. And selection at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, where they are trained everything from de-escalation tactics to firearm to driving training. Homeland Security investigation candidates receive more than 100 days of specialized training. Standard training for future enforcement and removal operations training is 8 weeks. So let's see what this is all about.
There is a lot. I land on the side of not wanting to run another campaign with defund the police akin slogan out there. And I think that Democrats have to be very careful about that. There's a group called Searchlight that put out a memo saying there is a better way. You want to talk about reform, that's one thing. But when you say just straight up abolish, it's very easy to chop that up and put that in an ad from the right attacking the left.
And again, that's why we're getting into this gray area of some Democrats, not all, are saying defund ICE, but the majority are saying reform ICE. And thank you for somebody just gifted 5 memberships, all coast. Thank you so much for that, for your generosity. And I really appreciate all your support. If you're new here, make sure to please subscribe. Make sure to please like the video and turn on your notifications so you guys don't miss a thing. We cover this stuff all the time.
And instead, you should have some proposals. So I came up with my new ICE proposal. Okay. So first and foremost, the training threshold has to go back to what it was. So 3 to 5 months, not this 47 days, the truncated version. The people who are being detained have to have convictions, and it must be the majority of them. So that has to be worst first, which Tom Homan claims that they're doing. We have seen evidence that directly contradicts that. Number 3, Americans cannot be detained / asked for their papers. We do not run a country where you're asked for your papers. You have
Wow, okay. Leave your comments down below how you feel about this so far.
to have ICE that engages in de-escalation tactics. And Brian O'Hara, who is the Minneapolis police chief, gave a very long interview to the New York Times where he talked about the fact that the way ICE is doing their business is creating absolute havoc in Minneapolis, from pulling people out of their cars and just leaving the cars, sometimes even still in drive. So cars are like rolling down the hill, leaving pets in there, pepper spraying people. And he is someone who talks about the fact that he's worked with ICE his whole career. He used to be in Newark, New Jersey. He doesn't have a problem with ICE. He wants them to do it the right way. And lastly, identification of ICE agents must be displayed. I understand in Minneapolis you would want a face guard. It's also freezing, but we need to know who these people.
But you just heard that little talking point there. I have to point that out. Again, even that gets into this weird area of why is this acceptable and why is this not acceptable? She just said, I understand if you want to wear a face mask if it's cold. What about I understand if you want to wear a face mask if your whole family was just leaked out to the world? And I always say this every time we talk about this particular talking point. To be fair to the talking point, if there's one person who hates the face mask more than anyone else, it's actually Todd Lyons. And you can go and fact check me. At the beginning of the summer, Todd Lyons said, I don't want my officers walking up on people having to be covered from head to toe, but I have no other way to protect them because we keep seeing more and more reports of our officers leaked. So I just want to point it out. I find it interesting that you can wear a mask if it's cold, but in Portland, they don't want you to wear a mask if your family is leaked outside of the federal building on the street pole that you're defending.
People are. And I think, well, because if they're abducting
why is that
people
important?
into
You didn't care about
stop with that. You didn't
protesters.
care. What do you mean?
You don't care about the protesters wearing a mask.
Well,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, A, you're not really sorry, but it's cute when you say it. And B, there's a massive difference between someone who is federal law enforcement, who has a gun and is legally obligated to tell you who they are so they can write down your badge number and look you up.
Also, you can dox them, too.
Okay.
And you can
Greg,
you can put a target on their back and then get somebody to shoot them.
There is no problem with guys wearing masks throwing people into unmarked vehicles. Okay, anyway, I gave you a response.
Again, I have yet to hear a response. A lot of times the response is, yeah, and people shouldn't be doing that. If you look at the statistics, if there's just one outlier of a particular federal agency that seems to be getting the brunt of attacks, whether it's literal physical attacks, vehicle rammings, the leaking of information. It happens to be ICE. In fact, what's also interesting about ICE is that like everybody seems to be categorized as ICE. Even in Chicago, the mass majority of the videos we saw was actually of Chief Bovino and Border Patrol, yet a lot of the reports kept referring to everybody as ICE. Anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that is why Homeland Security put their receipts out and let everybody know this is what it takes to be ICE. Now, I am not naive. Somebody who has served in the U.S. military, somebody who has been in the 101st Airborne, I've been to air assault school. There are some people who I served with who were able to whittle through the cracks and were just able to barely make it along and were at times hardly making the standard. That happens in every single government agency throughout the United States. Even some SEAL team members will come out and say there are some people that somehow make it. I am not denying there might be some who are probably not good enough to be there and somehow make it, but the point that Homeland Security is making, they do their best to really whittle that out. And that's just true with every single job in the world. Let me know if you guys have anybody you work with who somehow whittled their way in. But again, the main point here, pay attention to this idea of reform. Democrats right now are really pushing for this idea to reform how things are done in a very big way, not only the removing of the mask.
I want to show a couple of things that are getting a lot of attention. This first video is ICE agents pulling a woman out of a car in Minneapolis. I read a piece this morning about her, that she is an activist. But clearly this kind of video is the sort of thing that, you know, gets people riled up. They may not know all the details around it. What do you say about this video?
You know, Martha, you just said it perfectly right there. There's so much of that video that no one else has seen, unfortunately, right? And it doesn't show what she...
Can you tell us what else happened here that provoked this exchange?
Well, without getting too specific, since the fact that we do have criminal charges on that individual, you know, you have somebody that's driving into a scene, you're driving into a law enforcement situation after being warned not to do that, you know, coming at officers, blocking in vehicles. Then when she's told to get out of the car, she doesn't, and she resists at that point. And unfortunately, again, you know, I hate to sound like a broken record, but when you have elected officials that are saying, go out and do this, go out and impede ICE, you know, go out and protect your neighbor, and they're doing it like this, this is what happens and leads to it. And unfortunately, you know, these videos come up and there's only one side to it, and we're constantly having to go on the defense. But the men and women of ICE are professional. They're professional law enforcement officers. That's what they're out there doing every day. And again, at the end of the day, we have to make sure our men and women of ICE and all law enforcement go.
Okay, so leave your comments down below how you feel about that. And to comment on the, you know, there always seems to be one side of the story. I've been covering this long enough to know there seems to be many sides of a story. And so that's what we do here. I try to be as fair as possible. I'm not afraid of critiquing Homeland Security. We do that often, but I always try to make sure to be fair, analyze the entire situation. And even Homeland Security critiques Homeland Security. Thank you so much for the $5 donation from Savannah. Furthermore, the news was chasing the police around for not wearing masks. All right, just to be fair to the story, let me get one more Abby Phillips clip in here. When Scott Jennings makes this face, I already knew, before I even heard the audio in the video, I knew something was going to happen.
Same time, that's not really what we're seeing happening in Minneapolis, because it doesn't take 3,000 agents to get people out of jail.
Well, when they're being attacked, yeah, it does.
And so
Abby, you're right.
Can we be somewhere in the middle? Is it possible for
right.
there to be not a surge of ICE agents on the street of a
You've
city?
almost got it.
You've almost got 600 people, while also having a conversation about that other place.
In all the places in America where there is cooperation in the way you just described, where they have detainers and the local officials are cooperating, you have minimal ICE presence because they're just...
What did I just say 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago? For those of you who are still here from the beginning of this show. What did I just say? And by the way, when I react to this is all legit. I maybe watch like 3 seconds of a clip and I know what's going to happen. Tom Homan literally says this all the time. If you work with us, we are not going to show up. And again, this sounds so counterintuitive. How does that make sense? If you work with us, that means you're here. But if you don't work with us, now we're going to show up en masse. Go ahead and look at all of the cities who are working with these detainers, who are cooperating with ICE. There's no federal surge, and that's not only in conservative states, that's also in Democrat states as well.
Administratively transferring them. In Minneapolis, there is no cooperation on respecting of the detainers. So the middle ground here would be, yes, if we arrest someone and they have a detainer, we will turn them over.
Here's the thing, Scott. That kind of glosses over the other facts here, which is that is not all that federal agents are doing in Minneapolis. They are going door to door in Hispanic and Somali communities, knocking on doors and trying to just detain people. We know that because of eyewitnesses who have been there. We know that because, actually, let's go ahead and play this because this video was from earlier this week. This is of a house.
Okay, so the clip actually ends right there. We're not able to see the clip. But yeah, leave your comments down below how you feel about that. I will actually agree with Abby Phillips. It's not only deportation operations in Minneapolis, it's like everything. But again, I hold the argument that we shouldn't be surprised this is happening because the Trump administration said, watch Washington, D.C., we're going to be coming to a city near you. Memphis was that next operation. Are you guys hearing anything about Memphis at all? There is technically still a surge in Memphis. Please leave your comments if you guys have heard a single news story about Memphis at all. If not, after this live show, you guys can go look at those statistics and let me know what you feel about that. Okay, so this is going to be from yesterday. This is Frontlines TPUSA. If you guys want to go give them a follow and support them, that is TPUSA Frontlines. Again, very minimal conservative type reporting on the ground. The accusation is that there is water being spilled on the ground on purpose to freeze the ground. That is the accusation. I do want to mention just a week ago, really like 3 or 4 days ago, this fence was not here. So the feds are preparing for something that has already been going down here. These clashes. A lot of people have been arrested here already as far as crossing that line. You are allowed to protest. I will never not say you can't protest, but it's just crossing that line is where the feds or you see protesters get arrested. Okay, so that was yesterday morning. I want to get to Cam Higbee, actually. So this is from Cam Higbee last night, and thank you all Coast for becoming a T-SPLY squad member. Thank you guys for all your support, either monetarily or liking, leaving comments. That means a lot. This is from Cam Higbee last night. He says, mob of rioters in Minneapolis mistook me for Nick Sorter and followed me to my car. They threw ice chunks at me and demanded I take off my mask all the way to the car. Yeah, so again, this is Cam Higbee. If you guys want to go follow him, he goes live at night if you want to see the raw footage.
Oh, we got Nick back over here, huh?
I'm not Nick.
What happened last time, though? Remember when you went hitting your car? Oh, no. Oh, hey. Come talk to me, man. Come on,
After me, they think I'm Nick.
Oh, no, dude, come on. We just want to talk. Aren't you here to report? I got a story for you. Man, come on, come here. I'll show you the story. Come here. I just want to talk, man. You need to tell me your name, bro. Are you going to write up another article about how scary the crowd is because they said your name and walked after you?
They're going to follow us.
Yeah, what's your name, bro? Just tell us your name, dude. I'm not even mad at you. Your name's not Nick. I'm not even mad at you, bro. Take your mask off. Hey, guys, let him go. Let him go. Don't let him make another story about it. I mean, he's going to anyway, but you know.
It appears they're no longer protesting us.
Yeah, so at this point, is this now a protest, or what does this constitute? That's what Cam pretty much is asking. It looks like they're not protesting anymore.
You're a coward. You're a bootlicker pussy, just like your friend. Are you a part of the Proud Boys? You're so weak. Pussy. We're the Proud Boys. Get out of here. Fuck the Proud Boys.
They're throwing ice.
Get out of here. Fucking weirdo. Show your fucking
They're throwing ice bricks at us now.
Your mommy is a bitch. You're a bitch. Pussy, show your fucking face. Fuck your mama. Show your face. Show your fucking face. You're hiding like a fucking scary bitch. Show your face. Show your face. I know you hear me. Don't.
And by the way, to make it clear again, they think this is Nick Sorter. This is Cam Higbee, who is friends with Nick Sorter, but this is not Nick Sorter.
Be a pussy. Show your fucking face. Be a man, right? Pussy. You're a little fucking girl. You're not a man. This isn't what men do. They protect their fucking community. And what are you doing? You're walking away like a scared little bitch. Yeah. I should be in school. I should be worried about my education. No, it's not about my safety. Are we agitating? Not about my safety. Are we agitating you? Are we agitating? Show your face. Show your fucking pussy. Show your face. Show your face. You're gonna get Show your face. You fucking Trump.
Okay, so for those of you that are unaware, Cam Higbee actually has to be out there with security. And again, what I keep seeing and hearing from other conservative independent journalists on the ground, it is actually more dangerous in Minneapolis than it was in Portland. They do not feel that safe in Minneapolis. Again, that's from their reporting. And I try to be as fair as possible. I really am trying to give all the different sides here as far as reporting from left-leaning sources, but this is Cam.
Pussy, I should be in school. I should be in school worrying about my school. Not my safety. I should be in school. I'm a student.
Just keep walking. Get in and start the vehicle.
Okay.
Start the vehicle.
Fucking pussy bastard. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
They're saying drop him. Drop him.
And they were also saying get the license plate. So again, you guys can let me know how you feel about that. I did find it interesting, Cam's comment where he says, okay, so I guess they've stopped protesting.
There are dozens of federal agents here. Some of those are ICE SRT agents. That's their special response team. Basically, they're SWAT guys. Then there's a bunch of Federal Protective Service and other federal agents here. Anytime somebody starts climbing up on this gate, these feds get into this posture. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll talk about why the protests are so heated tonight. There was obviously that second ICE-involved shooting out here in Minneapolis last night. We'll take a look at these three photos right here. DHS has arrested these three people. All three are Venezuelan illegal aliens caught and released at the border by the Biden administration. And the backstory here is there was a traffic stop. The guy drives off, crashes into a parked car, bails out. The ICE agent chases him down. They're wrestling on the ground. And then two of the other guys come running out of the apartment, get a snow shovel and a broom handle, and allegedly start beating up the ICE agent. At that point, an agent shoots one of them. All three of them are in custody. And then take a look at this picture. The guy who got shot is smiling on a stretcher as he's in custody. He suffered non-life-threatening injuries, but that shooting last night, which DHS says was yet another attack on a federal agent, that has kind of sparked this new round of protests out here at the federal building tonight. Haven't seen any.
And again, in context, today is Friday. Typically with a lot of these protest or advocacy groups for people who have jobs or families, I guess you have more free time on the weekends. And so possibly expect, and I hope not, we might see some more clashes tonight. We saw Cam This is going to be from Allie Bradley TV. If you guys, again, want to go give her a follow, go support her. From News Nation. Okay, that is from Allie Bradley showing us some raw footage of what occurred last night. Very common to see stuff like this, unfortunately, where you just sort of kneel in front of the protesters or in front of the federal agents. Now, I wanted to play this video for you guys. This is Representative Betty McCollum, proudly representing Minnesota's 4th District. Let's see what she has to say about the situation.
I'm leaving for the airport in a few minutes, and I want you to know how proud I am of all of you for documenting and recording the chaos and the violence that's happening to our friends, our neighbors, and sometimes it's your own family member. Working really hard to do everything I can to make sure that people are accounted for and that they aren't detained in the first place. We're working together as a Democratic U.S. delegation for you. But I'm going to ask you, as the president threatens the Insurrection Act, the governor's right. We need to protest. We need to record what's happening. But you need to stay safe. And I mean that. Stay safe by not getting very close to any of these agents. They're just looking for an opportunity to throw you into the ground. You know.
So those are some pretty big accusations.
That. Don't give them one. Stay away from their cars. Their cars are weapons. They don't stop for people.
Wow.
So I want you to keep up the fight. We're keeping up the fight. I'm keeping up the fight here in Washington, and I will be with you at home. But stay safe, stay strong. Let's stay Minnesotan. Let's focus on our values of dignity, respect, and human rights. In other words, peaceful demonstration. We know how to do it, and we can show the world how to do it. In the words of John Lewis, let's make good trouble. And good trouble isn't trouble that harms people.
So again, I do want to just cross-reference back to the CNN clip where even on CNN, where is it? Even on CNN, they literally report, it's a little confusing because in one sense we hear it, peacefully protest. I think everyone can agree that's a good thing. But then in another sense, like you just heard, using words like trouble, document, record, stuff like that, where we sort of have this mesh of interpretation of what that could mean. All right. So you guys can leave your comments how you feel about that. Just trying to give all the different talking points. And there's one more I think I want to... No, not him. I don't know if I have it. Yeah, right here. One more. This is Representative Dan Goldman. Let's hear what he has to say. Again, keep in mind you're going to be seeing a lot more videos just like this in the coming days, trying to possibly garnish support for reform within Homeland Security. So you're going to be seeing a lot of clips just like this.
So there you have it, the Insurrection Act, what we all knew was coming. Donald Trump saying today that if Minneapolis doesn't get control of its people, then Donald Trump will invoke the Insurrection Act. This has been the playbook that we've seen for months now. Sending in militarized ICE agents with masks and excessive violence, untrained, unqualified, designed to incite violence, to inflame tensions, all to provide a pretext so Donald Trump can invoke the Insurrection Act and usurp more power under his own control.
Again, guys, even if you don't agree with this, I just want to let you know this is out there. Because if your algorithm is like super one-sided, you're probably never going to even see or hear this type of stuff. But I think it's very crucial you understand this is on the flip side of a lot of people's algorithms and talking points. And this is why I play this for you to realize this is happening. Or this is a counter talking point.
Don't be fooled. This was the plan all along. This is what Stephen Miller wanted. Send in these rogue, unqualified agents to use excessive force, militarized violence, masked, approaching people and demanding identification as if that's something that ever happens in the United States. It's all part of the playbook.
For anybody who lives on a border town or within the border of the United States, this is actually a lot more common than people realize. Again, I think a lot of Americans are unfortunately catching up with the idea of getting educated with sanctuary cities. When I started making these videos, a lot of people did not care. The only reason why people started to care is because I don't think people realized how much of a separation there was between the police and federal agents, but then the want to cooperate after things escalated so far. That's why I got into sanctuary cities, because I had no idea what they were about, and it seems like a lot more people are interested in this idea of sanctuary because it seems to be seeping into other policies as well. Sanctuary city politicians or talking points leaning into general main talking points, specifically talking about this idea of security. Where is that line? Is ICE allowed? Is that good if ICE goes after an illegal immigrant who's a criminal? Most sanctuary people will say yes. An illegal immigrant who crosses into the country illegally, then that's where you get into the most likely no.
Do not be fooled. We saw this coming. Do not fall for it. There is no grounds for the Insurrection Act unless Donald Trump wants to call for it against his ICE officers.
And that's being talked about right now, according to Tom Homan today. It's not like I don't think we're going to get a decision today that there's going to be the Insurrection Act invoked. Me personally, I don't think they're going to do it, if I'm just being truthfully honest with you. And the only reason why I say that is because I think the Trump administration, it didn't look too good for them as to what happened in Portland. And they know there's most likely going to be a legal challenge and a legal battle. And as we know right now, there's a lot of federal agents out there. So in my personal opinion, I don't think, it doesn't mean I don't think there should be, but I personally don't think the Trump administration will be doing it. That's my personal opinion. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But again, based off what I saw in Oregon and Portland, I mean, that was an uphill battle to fight in the courts. And the Trump administration, they lost that battle. It's just the truth. Thank you, Let's Roll 47 for the $10 donation. The crap that gets spewed out of these politicians' mouths is just disgusting and leaves me in awe. And I think you meant to say mouths, but I appreciate that donation. Somebody just gifted 5 members, fed up with it. Thank you for gifting other people 5 memberships. You guys are some of the most charitable subscribers and viewers. I cannot believe this channel has led to the point where we have 5,000 people watching live. So thank you. Okay. So that's pretty much all the relevant talking points. I really want to get some more details on what happened here. Let me find that picture for you. Where is it? This. Still waiting on more reports of this. Vehicles being damaged. Government vehicles being damaged. I'm really curious if the Trump administration is going to have a conversation with Governor Tim Walz. Governor Tim Walz, again, appealing for some sort of peace. Stop this campaign of retribution is what he says. So I have a lot more work to do for you guys. I'm going to do my best to give you all the most relevant information. Make sure to go subscribe to the people I shouted out, Cam Higbee and Allie and all the others. Thank you for the $5 donation, Cynthia. State law enforcement are traitors. They are beholding the left-wing government officials. That's from Cynthia. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Make sure to turn on your notifications. I think that helps out in seeing the other videos as well. Do expect a video will be coming out later with some more details of this situation and other situations. Thank you guys again for everything. Thank you for being so interactive, helping me out with these shows. And yeah, I will catch you guys all later. Thank you again for all your support. And please pray for peace. Collectively, if we please pray for peace, that's a really good thing. And advocating for peace, I want to be known as the channel with the subscribers. He's the guy that prays for peace, advocates for peace. That's us. So, yeah. Thank you guys. I love you guys. Peace out.